You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use our code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. That's daily fantasy sports made easy with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Great to be here with you, wrapping up a weekend, wrapping up now a season that concludes with your third consecutive bowl win. Year number 2 under Joey McGuire concludes with a second straight bowl win. First time that's ever happened in the first 2 years for a Texas Tech head coach. And Chris, aside from a blip at the beginning of the game, just a tiny blip, small little blip at the beginning of the game, we came close to just seeing outright Red Raider domination in a 34-14 win over the Cal Golden Bears. I don't know what box you left unchecked because you were making plays in just about every phase of the game, and not just making plays, but man, some dynamic plays on both sides of the ball. Certainly from a turnover or quarterback pressure perspective, the defense was doing that, but you saw Taj Brooks doing his thing, but then also Baron Morton finding some pass catchers that were catching, and basically, I don't know, is it singular? Coy Eakin catching some contested balls and making some big plays for the Red Raiders. You saw your special teams making an impact as well. So man, when you put a complete picture together like that to conclude a season, it's a lot of fun to watch now as Texas Tech returns to the 806 as Independence Bowl champions.
You know, you'd think Cal would quit signing up to play the Red Raiders in a bowl game. What are we doing, fellas? That's 2 up, 2 down for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, this. I think in bowl time, you know, you're not real sure what you're going to get with so many portal injury opt-out, scenarios. I mean, like, heck, you even find out before this game that you've got a couple of kids that have been sitting out all year, and then the court systems are like, hey, man, they can play. Okay. I mean, like, right. So it's just it affects special teams. It affects rhythm and timing and all the stuff. You get the freshmen that are allowed to play in these games, even if they've played their 4 games, that keeps their year intact from a redshirt standpoint. So you're not real sure what you're going to get. You saw a lot of creativity and some gadgets. Some worked, some didn't, and all that. And that's what you'll see in a lot of these bowl games. And you're going to see a lot of, and then I've seen people like, hey, you have all this stuff, and then you show up and it's like you check out Instagram and the whole team's at the bar at like 3 a.m. on insert whatever street here in whatever city you're in, and then it's like all bets are off. Like, I have no idea what. But bottom line, to your point, Cowan, yeah, this was a good team effort. I think that all 3 phases shared in this victory. Yeah, you had a few hiccups. I mean, the first the special teams aspect with the opening kickoff being fumbled. Gino Garcia missed a field goal that's his first missed all season, like 40 yards or under. He's a perfect 9 for 9 up until that point. But I think you saw a healthier, he's not healthy, but he's healthier version of Baron Morton. I think you kind of had to manufacture, some offense, missing a ton of, because I mean that's part of the list or part of this deal too, is the long list of who you did not have in this game. Had we gone into a regular season game with this list, you would have been like, I mean, should they just like cancel the game? But in bowl game, it's almost like normal. I don't know, but yeah, you've got razor thin at wideout, and yet Coy Eakin, you knew you were going to try to feed him, and they did. And Dre McCray, ex-White, Brady Boyd was obviously in the mix a bit. Mason Tharp showed up some. Taj Brooks, old reliable, and then you saw Barron with some zip on it. And how about Loic Fungi, who I'm willing to tell you, I bet he and Cameron Valdez, I'm not going to be shocked at all. I'll phrase it that way if they are back here next year. After flirting with the portal process and all those things, I think they both have a role here, and so we'll kind of see where that goes. But man, fun night in Shreveport, man. And like you said, man, back-to-back winning seasons, 3 bowl game wins in a row for the first time since the early part of the 2000s. A lot, and you win 4 of your last 5 games, of the season is ultimately what it came down to. And yeah, you want a better start to the season, or we're having a different conversation now. But it's fun winning at the tail end of these seasons, because that's back-to-back years that Joey McGuire and company have been able to do that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch some things show up that hadn't been there. As you mentioned, Old Reliable and Taj Brooks just continuing to do what he does. That's been there all year, obviously. But to see the passing game click in a way that it really hasn't, the yards after catch numbers were pretty nice, both for Eakin and Xavier White, 36, 40-ish, I think, for both of those guys. I can't believe you threw it 43 times. I was kind of shocked by that number. Morton, 27 for 43, 256, 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. But I was surprised by that. But I think it was also kind of indicative of maybe the way that he was feeling and some of the confidence that they had in his ability to make some plays. But, it was really revealing, I thought, that you had the guys depart from the group of wide receivers that you did, and you had one of your best pass catching days of the year. And again, I know you weren't, it wasn't like air raid Mike Leach style, fill up the box score, 3 1,000-yard receivers or whatever type of deal. But you were making plays, and we didn't see a whole lot of that this year. And credit to Eakin, credit to Xavier White in particular. You mentioned Mason Tharp also makes an impact in the game, but credit to Baron Morton, who has hung in there and grinded through some injury and finished, I think, I'd have to go back statistically and really look, but with one of, if not his most impressive individual efforts, I thought as a Red Raider, because, we've seen some days where he does some things for you, but we're all like, man, what would it really look like if he was feeling great? I don't even know if he was feeling great on Saturday, but I thought that was, I don't want to call it a coming out party or anything like that. It's one game against a 6-6 team from California. But either way, I thought that was one of Morton's more impressive individual outings, and man, really get you excited for the future with him at the helm.
Yeah, and you get a glimpse of what you kind of missed most of the season.
Yeah.
I think that's what, and I just don't think, and he's still not. He needs some time, but I think you saw what a couple of 3 weeks of downtime could do for him. He talked about that after the game, and I think his quote was, "I didn't need as much medicine going into this game as I had needed before." However you want to phrase that or take it, I think that was his quote, though. But yeah, you saw a little zip. I mean, there's one that he would love to have back. He missed Eakin open for a touchdown. That's where he threw the interception. But that was really, the one hiccup that he had overall. I thought he managed the game well. I thought that the throw that he makes to Loic Fungi is just, big time arm talent right there. The one he found with X White that was, I think, like a 40-yard gain. It would have probably been his second or third or fourth read, and he finds him, kind of drops that arm down and slung that one, and then X White does what he's done all season long, and he's been one of your best guys, if not the best, at breaking yards or breaking tackles and extending plays because he just won't go down the yards after the catch. And we'll talk about this as the week goes along and really for the next several months, but there's some serious help on the way, man, at this spot. And it's going to make everybody's life easier, in my opinion. Proven commodity type help, and so that part should excite everybody. But I'll tell you, bowl games they're exhibitions. A lot of people, hey, it's a mid-tier, lower-tier bowl game. It doesn't mean anything. Why is anybody, this or that? Okay, I get that crowd. I certainly understand it. It's not the kind of season you wanted. However, try to tell somebody like Jacob Rodriguez. Again, I'm going to tell you, man, this is going to be a Jacob Rodriguez fan podcast for the next 9 months. Okay, right. So just buckle up. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm just going to keep repeating it. The kid he can ball, man. And, I guess what is it now? He was 4 up in games that he starts and finishes. You were 4-0. And it's not just, that was TCU, Kansas, Central Florida, and now Cal. So one of them was one of your biggest road wins. One of them was a game, against TCU on a Thursday night. You had to have it. nip and tuck. The other one was to get you bowl eligible, and the other one is the bowl win. And so these were crucial games, and kid can ball, but tell him it doesn't matter. Tell somebody like Amir Washington, who gets to step out of the shadows and into the limelight a bit and go, this is kind of fun. I look like Broderick Washington out here, man, wearing this jersey number, and I got the same last name. I mean, and he's just like, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, 4 tackles for loss or something. I mean, kid was just all over the place. So, it was fun to watch those guys play really hard for each other and for their head coach. And I'm glad they won it for sure, man, because as you said, 7-6, a lot different than 6-7.
Yeah, there's no question. And with all due respect to Broderick Washington, when I'm talking Amir Washington, I'm thinking more like Reggie White or something. I mean, that dude had an unbelievable night. And I'm glad you mentioned those guys on that side of the football, because I really wanted to get to what blew me away the most. First, today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. And eBay Motors has you covered with everything you need to maintain your vehicle and keep that ride or die ride on the road. Or if you're just looking to elevate your car's game to the next level of performance, they got what you're looking for with roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, superchargers, and accessories of all kinds to fit your style. Whether you're looking for speed, power, or design, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts to perfectly fit what you need. So just head over today to ebay.com/motors, where you're going to always find exactly what you're looking for, and with no risk because of eBay's guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit just right every time, or your money back, keeping you burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to keep your ride or die ride on the road and moving your life forward at ebay.com/motors. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions do apply. I really wanted to get to what blew me away the most, and that was the defensive effort. And it's not just like limiting the opposition, getting them off the field on third down, but big plays. 6 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, 4 takeaways, and some of those, like the Baskerville pick, the dude didn't even have to take a step. So shout out to Mr. Mendoza, the Cal quarterback, for being very generous. His Christmas spirit knows no bounds. But that was incredible. And we really have been missing that all year long in both of those categories, whether it's talking takeaways or killing quarterbacks. Like when you left Waco, there was a quarterback in a body bag in yellow and green. But since then, it's been a lot of close but no cigars. And I know that we're in the shadow of a really great year in that category last year with Tyree Wilson and company. So, maybe the expectations were a little too high or something. I don't know, because of that. But you never really check that box consistently. And I don't know if it's just going to be a one-off. We will not play another game for, 9-10 months. So we'll have to wait and see if you're able to build upon that. But for one night, that defense was a sight for sore eyes, and not just in getting them off the field, but making big plays, which, getting them off the field is great, Chris, but plays like this in those categories, pressuring the quarterback, taking the football away, those are momentum changing plays. It's more than just a third down stop. That's got everybody off their feet, jumping in the air on the sideline. You just can't really quantify the impact that those types of plays have. And I hope we see a lot more of it next year.
Yeah, Blake Shapen had so much of that night in Waco that he went to Mississippi State.
He had to leave the state. Like, I'm out of here.
Go Dogs.
Exactly.
Yeah, but to mention all the things that you just did, like one, we had tried to, yes, you turned it over way too many times on offense, but so much of your problem was compounded this year by not being able to create a lot of what you saw against Cal, which were the plays behind the line of scrimmage and the takeaways. It's a twofold problem. Yes and yes. Too many turnovers, not enough takeaways equals 500 type record, and some games that I think you maybe could have had. And heck, you were in a lot of those. But yeah, you're right, man. And no Jalen Hutchings, no Miles Cole, no Dylan Spencer, no Steve Linton. On and on it went, and yet. It's just a Data-Ray, Duda, Esters, Amir Washington, Tony Bradford, obviously, speaking of old reliable and all that, and salute to Mr. Bradford for a job well done. He and guys like Rabbit sorely missed around here. But yeah, I thought the defense was opportunistic, and it's fun to think about, like a second year of Baskerville and some of the guys, and Amir Washington with a forced fumble, and Jacob Rodriguez with an interception, and there's a lot of guys that were involved in some of these plays that will be back next year, and so you've got a nice nucleus, and you're going to continue to add to it, obviously. But this was the kind of the missing ingredient. It's amazing how much easier football gets when you limit other teams' possessions by taking the ball away, or you take it away and give your offense a short field and all those kinds of things. But man, nice job by Tim DeRuyter's group for sure.
It's cool to watch guys like a Dunlap or Rabbit or some of these older guys make those plays, but there's another special kind of tingle for a Red Raider fan watching Ben Roberts and Jacob Rodriguez, knowing the future that is still in front of them. And I don't really recall you've had some nice linebackers run through here in the last decade, but the sort of foundation between those two, I don't recall being so encouraged about the future in a long time.
We need to spend a segment on this, whether it's this week or at some point in the offseason. And I'll just kind of say it now because it's funny you say that, because I wrote this down this morning. But Dakota Allen, Rico Jeffers, Jordan Brooks, Colin Schooler. This is recent years. But you've been really blessed with some dudes, like next level type guys at that position. And I don't know if I've been as impressed with a duo, and this is heavy praise based on the names that I just mentioned to you. I don't know if either one of these guys can end up being what Jordan Brooks is in the NFL. But at this stage in their careers, and that's the important part to note, because Ben Roberts he's got 3 full years to play, and I think Jacob Rodriguez, thankfully, they did not play him versus Texas, because you trade one game for a 12-gamer in a full season. But that should be your 2 inside linebackers for the next 2 years. And then Ben Roberts would have a year after that. I mean, there may not be a better spot on your entire team I feel better about, because they're just they're smart. They're good players. They appear to be very durable. Short of a freak injury by Jacob Rodriguez that he suffered in that opener when he's recovering a fumble, mind you, on trying to make a play there. But I just very, very excited about that particular duo. And I mean, Rodriguez, man, he just one of those guys, man. He just finds the ball. He's around the ball. He just makes plays, and they win. And I think there's a direct correlation into him playing and you winning. And that it's hard to say that about a lot of defensive guys, but there's a reason why he was one of the guys that was mic'd up. I mean, that's how much they trust him.
Yeah, and it's wild to think where that conversation has now wound up at the end of the season versus coming into the year, where there were so many questions about your linebacking core with Krishan Merriweather, another one that was really good for you sideline to sideline, Kosai Eldridge.
Yeah.
With those guys out of the picture, and you're thinking, man, that may be, the hollowest positional group, defensively speaking, that you had going into the year. And I just can't believe how it worked itself out this season. And all of a sudden, it is unquestionably going into next season a strength, not only of the defense, but of the team overall. And that's really exciting, because even though they've done their best for about 25, 30 years to outlaw defense in the game of football, they still do allow it to be played to a certain extent, and it is still what wins hardware. Put it on the tombstone. Also, condolences to recent transplants from California who moved to the great state of Texas. If Tech won the game, that meant you had to go back. It was 34-14, boys. So sayonara. Back to the left coast you go. And we truly are torn up over that. Chris, appreciate a little bonus time here today on a Sunday, man. Always enjoy your insights. Glad you made it back to the 806. And we got plenty to get into on Monday, because as Chris alluded to, we've got big-time additions to talk about for Texas Tech football, and a big-time win for the Red Raiders in Fort Worth over Vanderbilt on the hardwood. So we'll get heavy into all of that coming up on tomorrow's episode. Hope you'll join us for that. Enjoyed it, Chris, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, and Nashville Signing Day is this week as well for the early periods. You're going to put the pen to paper with the bulk of your recruiting class this week. So, yeah, a lot going on still, and you're still not done portaling, man. So, yeah, a lot to get into pre-Christmas here, but we'll cover it as best we can. And hit that subscribe button. We appreciate everybody paying attention. And pretty good little old Saturday. Some Bed Bath and Beyond. I don't know if I have enough time. No, how about a win in Cowtown and in a boot right there in Shreveport, man. Giddy up.
Everybody knows on December 16th, we do nothing but win by 20 or more. We will not tolerate anything less. All right, for Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend and join us back here for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.